beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. This is our end of days. Uh, as usual, just one continuous stream. No AI stuff, no editing, just raw recording. Currently, I'm homeless, living on the streets. If you're a regular subscriber, you already know that. I just got woken up here. It's crazy, you guys. I usually people are living their own lives, man, and that's one thing I learned. I don't like to jump into any situation, uh, but if people make it my business, then it turns into a different thing, where I do my best to offer help to a situation. So what I'm speaking of specifically is I was resting. I was sleeping in the park, and that's probably why I sound a bit groggier than normal. And so I'm gonna call them a couple. They I woke up and they were fairly close. I'd say within 15, 20 feet of me, which is pretty close, you guys. And this guy who was in a wheelchair, 1 foot, was yelling like almost at the top of his lungs, and he was yelling at I'm gonna say his girlfriend. I don't even know. I don't know their situation. I don't know what's going on, but he was going on and on and on. Uh, and he was angry. Man, was he angry. And so I don't know the situation. That's one of those things. Like I don't. From my outside perspective, I could identify with either one of them because the accusations he was making was horrible, absolutely horrible. Uh, but the energy that I was kind of reading from, he was man. He would not be a person to live with. And if he wanted his feelings communicated, there was definitely a different way to go about it because everything was accusatory. Every little glimpse was, yeah, just from what I could read from the energy, he was just an extremely angry, insecure person, extremely insecure, and was just going off on his girlfriend. Uh, Now, I don't know the full situation, of course, so I could understand if people are angry in that kind of context at certain things. The things that he was saying was just freaking. It was crazy. Like she was doing nothing, um, like just laying around and everything. But the ironic part is that I wasn't even by the sidewalk. Like this couple had to come uh, onto the grass, and this guy's in a wheelchair with 1 foot, and so he essentially needed help to get to that point. And so if he needs help to live, all right, and he comes from that angle, from that act of living, that's just a rotten way to be. Now this woman, from what I could read from the energy, was just like defeated. Like she had nothing. She didn't say nothing this entire time. She laid down at one point, um, and I don't want to project anything. All right, like I said, for these two individuals, I don't know anything about the situation, so I'm not attempting to put into things that I don't know about. But essentially, since they were so close to me, all right, I did want to come up and just kind of be like, hey, but I didn't even get close before this guy basically comes around and he confronts me, and he's extremely angry confronting me, and he's contradictory. He's like, this is none of your business. I'm like, well, yeah, you're right, but you came up to me, man. You came up to me within 15, 20 feet of me, and you woke me up. You're yelling as fucking as loud as you can, man. And he's like, well, it's a public park. And it's just like, oh, fuck, man. This kind of person. And he's like, it's none of your business, bro. Except he's calling me cousin. He's calling me cousin, wasn't he? Uh, and he's threatening to send people after me, uh, uh, rough me up or something, and I know everybody's cousins on this island and everything, so it's just like, you know, I'm not afraid, but I'm not looking for trouble, you guys. Like, seriously. Um, if anything, I was looking to help. I was looking to help them, the situation. Um, because if he could communicate his feelings in a way which were more integrative, the situation I think could be differently. However, this is also what I see too. I don't, and so from my perspective, which is all that it is, because like I said, I don't know the situation. I don't know what's going on with them. Um, and it takes two to tango is the best way to say it. But from the energy that I was reading, and after interacting with this guy, and her saying nothing this entire time, she said nothing, and the look that she had was like just defeated, just like just defeated, you guys, like wanting to dissociate, and it just reminds me of patterns that I've seen, in my own life, observing other people's lives, you know. I'm just sorry, some people coming by. Um, it's just nuts, you guys, because I see things from a holistic perspective. And we're all responsible for the lives that we're living in. He's so angry, you guys. And what he's really angry at is himself. You know, that's what it boils down to. And what she's so defeated about, she's really defeated with herself. All right, in a very, very real way. And so we get mirrors of our lives, you guys. And I think this happened to me for a reason too. Um, there might be other stuff going on too, but I think a lot of it was just to show me how far I've come. You know, in many ways, I'd say to a lesser extent, but and I'm trying to think of particular relationships, but like maybe my relationship with what I've perceived as the elite, or bullies, abusers. I've been that angry. I've been that angry at people who just seem to only care about themselves, like and in a myopic way, in a way where they're robbing themselves of the true opportunity to connect with other people, to live a happy life, to have peace in their hearts. And I've been that angry before, and I've wanted them to understand what they're giving. And coming from that perspective, it doesn't help anything, you guys. Like these individuals who are like that, there's nothing we can do for them. All right. And the opposite's also true of that, though, too. This woman, who I would almost call her, from what I could tell, she's just an enabler, and dissociative, defeated. It sucks, absolutely sucks. Um, and she's creating her own life. You know, uh, I'm just thinking of times, where I've been there, where I felt like it's hopeless. And it's only hopeless when we believe it is, and coming over those fears. I mean, getting over those fears. Um, you know, it's a process. And even though he was so angry, this individual, I could see there was fear behind his eyes, and it's something that he lives with every day. Probably pain too. You know, and a lot of the times, the state of our bodies is a reflection of our mental emotional state too. And it's not an excuse. But I know that pain, like physical pain, and I don't know if this guy could be in physical pain too. But if his attitude and what he was saying is any indication of anything, like he doesn't seem like he's looking to feel better. He just wants to make it the world's problem. He wants to make it other people's problems, his spouse's problem. You know, and that kind of an individual. where I'm at in my life, it's just like you gotta let them go, man. You just gotta let these individuals go. And for this woman, I likewise have to let her go. Like, I can't save her. Like nobody can save her. This is I've seen this dynamic a lot of times too, where and I've been that person too as the enabler, man. Where it's just like as the enabler, we've had such a perspective of self hatred. Where we internalize everything. The equal opposite of this, like basically the abuser, making it everybody else's problem, everybody else's fault. Nothing to do with me, everything to do with you. Everything to do with you, nothing to do with me. And then the enablers, flip that around, you guys. It has everything to do with me. It's not your fault. I'm this way. And I could just read that energy off of her, you guys. Just, and guess what? I can't save that. Just as equally as I can't save this guy from his pain. You know, um, I'm still glad I interacted, said something too. I think it was more for me, seeing how far I've come too. I was just like, I didn't have any ponies in this race, for either one of them. But you come up and wake me up, getting into like this public argument, right up there. Shoot, you guys, I got to say something. And you didn't hear me, but I threw out something like it where it was like, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, you know. But vinegar is a good cleaning solution. White vinegar, especially, But that's neither here nor there. Um, no, because like I say, there's only one absolute. So yeah, you guys, just glad to be me. Super glad to be me. Out of those relationships for sure, and I wish them both well. I really do. Um, and like I said, I don't know the situation, but all we can do is really, as individuals, look out after ourselves, you know, and for the enabler type, I think it's harder to walk away. And what I've always felt and what I've always experienced, at least for myself, is that the enablers are the ones who have essentially all the power. And seeing this dynamic too, this very angry individual in a wheelchair obviously needs help. And I'm sure this woman, this loving, enabling energy with a very wounded or distorted sense of self, wanted to help this individual. And I could be projecting my own circumstances on some of the women that I was actually with, where the dynamic was reversed, and I was the enabler, I was the lover, I was the one who had a distorted sense of self in that way. And just a lot of the romantic relationships I had, especially, I don't want to get into details of my own personal life, and I'm not blaming, um, any of my romantic partners for my own role in our relationship, because I did have healing to do, you know, and I also fully stand by. I gave everything I had to these women, everything, and I could see that me staying with them wasn't going to help the situation. Just like it's just like if I put myself in this woman's position where it's just like I can't help them, they don't want to be helped, you know, and this guy told me as much too, like very angrily. So he's not looking for help. At the same time, he needs it. He needs it. And for my own particular stance, since I'm aware, I'm going to let the universe help these individuals. Um, I don't need to have a relationship with them. I don't have to worry if they're going to be taken care of or not. Um, God will take care of them. The source will take care of them. Spirit will take care of them. The universe will take care of them. All right. It's not up to me. Now, if it's in my heart to help them, absolutely, that's the universe coming through me then, uh, that's the that spirit, you know, um, showing me that I can do something, that this is something that I want to do, maybe as the universe, as spirit. Um, and the opposite's also true too. If in what I've seen in most dynamics, at least this is from what I understood, was that as one party begins to heal their wounds, and if they begin changing, then it is up to that individual to usually sever the ties. Like, maybe it's just the enabler part of me as well, where it's just like I've always wanted to bring people with me on my healing journey. I wanted to, you know, um, basically help them, be like the helper, I guess, the nurturer. It's just, I can't help it, you guys, and I can, obviously I can now. I've healed a lot. And, and this is also why I don't know what to call it, but like my cutoff game, it's just like, cool, I don't care. No matter how close we've gotten, no matter what's happened, you could be family, you could be a friend that we've been through so much together. We're just like, as soon as I know where this is going, just like, okay, we're done. Goodbye now. You won't be seeing me again. And it is what it is, you know. And I don't, even when I say goodbye, I don't wish anybody ill will. It's just like, nah, you're coming from a level that you're playing in the mud, man, and I don't wish to play in the mud anymore. I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to hold myself accountable for my own actions, my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own choices, and that's that. You know, and from where we're coming from, if I'm talking to this individual, thinking about myself too. You know, sayonara. It's uh, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And in this kind of an instance, it's very interesting because being alone, I believe, helps us most of the time when we're able to connect to Source, when we're able to connect to God, you know, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, you guys. Not holy full of holes, but divine. You know, um, and that when we do that, it makes life so much better. It just makes life so much better. We stop blaming other people, and at the same time, we don't take on other people's garbage as well. Their wounds, what's there going on with them. So yeah, you know, and we're already at 20 minutes. It's crazy, almost 20 minutes. So we'll leave it at that. This is a little bit of a longer video. So and as we heal, all right, as things get better, then we choose to take it on, no matter what role we've ever had in the past. All right, whether we're because all of it's self healing, guys. No matter what's going on, all right. Whether it's the enabler, whether it's the abuser, but like I said, from the dynamic that I'm familiar with the most, at least this has been my perspective. It's the enabler who has the power, and it's usually the enabler who needs to walk away because the abuser, they're going to keep on abusing. They're not going to stop. And it doesn't mean necessarily completely walking away. It can. For me, it did. Absolutely, it did. Um, and then for me, that isolation, I found peace. you know, I found that my energy, my loving energy, was reflected back to me much more often when I stopped giving myself away to individuals who could only see their own pain, and they didn't know it was their own pain, and they didn't want to learn that it was their own pain. They wanted to make it other people's problems. And it's just one of those things, you guys, where it's something that I've had to learn. It's something that I've had to heal from, for sure. So I know everything happens for a reason, right? And this is showing me, how far I've come, how much I've healed. It's just crazy, man. And also where it's just like, shoot, I think it's this simultaneous thing where it's just like, I'm not looking to make other people's business my own for sure, But if you come up to me, and you're in my bubble, I'm gonna say something. All right, I'm probably gonna say something most of the time. There's no always, right? There's only one absolute. But coming from that perspective, from the enabler perspective, I had to see my own value, you know, and being with the abusers is often keeping us trapped in that cycle as the enabler role. And as someone who's on the outside, whether this is friends, family, whatever, but if you're someone on the outside, you're seeing an abusive relationship, a relationship which has an enabler and an abuser. And sometimes it's back and forth, you guys. Sometimes it's not as clear cut. All right, like this is what I mean. Like we got to be careful with predefined labels and everything, but we're all responsible for what we're creating. All right, is what I'm saying. And if one of the individuals is wanting and looking to get better and the other one isn't, then the choice has already been made. All right. And going it alone is better than staying in the abuse. All right, is all I'm saying. And as in someone who's on the outside looking in, you can't save this enabler. All right. You can try, and if it's in your heart, say your piece, communicate from the heart, because that's all we can do. That's all we can do. And then let it go. And they're living their own lives. If they're adults, and hopefully they are adults, but they're living their own life at that point, and you just got to let it go. And so, yeah, and as for me with these two individuals, I'm done. I said my piece. I'm not going to lose any sleep over what I did do or what I didn't do. Um, I hope they both live happy lives, really, truly. Um, I hope they both heal because I could see the wounds in both of their hearts. And I don't even pretend to know what that looks like, all right? But I can see my own life. And for me, I just don't have room for that anymore, man. Definitely on a relationship level, anybody who's coming at me like that guy was, whew, be like, all right, no ill will, but peace out, love within, because shoot, you're on your own journey, and so am I, and I don't have to live with this. All right. And that's the beauty of being an individual, you guys. And why it's so important as enablers to recognize, especially as empathic individuals, is that a lot of the times it is not our energy that we're feeling, it's someone else's energy, it's someone else's life. And having a sense of compassion, I would say, like, is good. It needs to be tempered, though, with what I would say logic, you know, and understanding that maybe the best thing we can do to help these abusers, all right, is to let them go. And that's okay. We're not, it's not abusive to, I'm trying to think of like an example, all right, because this is what it's felt like to me in a lot of cases as the enabler, where it's just like I'm walking along my life, and it's okay. But I see like an animal. I'm trying to think of an animal that would be appropriate in this kind of a situation. But it's just like I'm so much more powerful and capable than this particular animal, and it's wounded. It's wounded, and if it doesn't receive help, it's gonna die soon. You know, and so I come up and I do what I can to help this animal, but it bites at me. All right, And even doing things, feeding it food or containing it or being peaceful with it, just no matter what I do, this animal just wants to bite at me. And it's not letting me dress the wound. It's not letting me treat it at all. Nowadays, and it took me a long time to get here, you guys. Nowadays, it took me. This animal's asking to die, you know, and so that's not my fault. All right, I gave what I could even, and I'm a lot better at that stuff now. Where it's just like I do have that heart, whether it's an animal, whether it's a human being. I do. If I see someone in pain and I believe and I know and I get that inclination from God to minister, I will. I absolutely will. And if people don't take it, whatever. It's a lot different now. And if anything, God's has me more focused on, rather than the animals per se, but other human beings. And that's another thing too, where it's just like, don't cast pearls before swine, you guys. Because a lot of the times they're just rabid animals essentially, and they would rather die. They would rather clutch their pearls, which are not pearls at all, man. That's the delusion. And I think I've identified with that. If I would have clutched my pearls, I would still be in abusive relationships. I wouldn't have healed as much as I have. And yeah, there's more to it, man. There's always more to heal. That's just kind of how it is too. Shoot, almost, man. We're going on 30 minutes now. This was a long one. I guess it brought up stuff for me, you guys. Yeah, it's still kind of weird. Maybe it was just God showing me how far I've come. I know I've said that several times, but it's just nuts. Like this couple should have never. Like I was fairly off the beaten path. They had no reason to be where I was at, but I guess for some reason God brought them to me. And sort of made a video out of it, right? And just for my particular role, I identify and I have identified more as an enabler. And I just want to tell other enablers, because, it was also myself too, where it's just like, we're worth it. All right. We're valuable. And if other people do not respect that value, it's okay to walk away. It doesn't make us a bad person walking away. Because most often, that care that we want to give this dying animal is a projection. It's the care that we've wanted to give ourselves. And maybe, if anything, the care that we've wanted to receive from the outside world. And that's almost the irony, is that that's why, at least for me, isolation was so necessary, was that I got to experience that, where being in isolation, I was able to give the care to myself that I had been unable to receive from the outside world. So we'll keep it there, all right? And so we're already done here. So thanks guys. Give me a like if you've been this far. If you like it, subscribe for more. I appreciate your viewership, whoever you are. So peace out, love within. I'll catch you on the flip side.